Wow, Sky, you're so negative. And I'm thinking like, bro, they made Yoshi Touch and Go, not me! Fellas, I want to take a look at some bad video games. Not only bad video games made by Nintendo, the company that can't do no wrong. I just realized the phrase is can do no wrong, so either way, like, I came out smart with that phrase. They can't do no wrong because they release bad games a lot. Now, maybe not a lot, you know? Like, Nintendo does have a very good, you know, general quality to their games. I'm not really a fan of when some people act like Nintendo is above doing certain things that the rest of the video game industry tends to do. Like, oh, like digital only stuff, online only, microtransactions, rushed games. Nintendo's generally kind of put in this camp that like doesn't do that, and you can find a ton of examples of Nintendo doing exactly those things. I think the difference is I think Nintendo has a lot more pride when it comes to like their like big AAA releases and their AA releases, but then you get these weird f***s, you know, like games that they just don't really care about, or some games that are meant to be like big releases that just come out a little strange. So I compiled a list of a fair amount of Nintendo games that I've seen get their fair share of criticism over the years. You know, a lot of these are generally considered like, oh, these are some of the worst Nintendo games. Some of them I just know got kind of like funky ass review scores from a fair amount of critics. So for example, I'm gonna start off with a bit of a softball one. I have Dr. Mario 64 here. I remember IGN's review of this back in like 2001. They gave this thing like a 5 out of 10. I'm like, it's Dr. Mario. Like, why is this getting a 5 out of 10? Especially considering around that time on IGN, they were giving like a ton of like 10 out of 10s to like a bunch of like Game Boy Color games. I think the main problem with Dr. Mario 64 was that it was just more Dr. Mario, and it wasn't anything that impressive. This was one of the last major Nintendo 64 games that released. It released the year the GameCube launched, so I guess like it wasn't very impressive. But overall, like when we take a look back at Dr. Mario 64, this is probably like the best Dr. Mario game. I mean, it's like the only major Dr. Mario game that has like 4-player simultaneous multiplayer, which is insane that like none of the other releases really did that. It has like a full-blown story mode, and it's based on like Wario Land 3 of all things. I think the main problem with it is that it is a little stinky looking. I don't know, I like the style they're going for, but the N64 is just kind of in this weird era where it's like, it can't really display like the 2D art from this game at the greatest resolution, or just in general, to make it look as good as it possibly could. Like, it looks fine. It's an N64 game. What am I gonna expect? But, you know, I'm just trying to, like, you know, play devil's advocate here, because I just spent the past 2 minutes gassing Dr. Mario 64 up, so I gotta bring it down a notch. Dr. Mario 64 is probably the best Dr. Mario. It's still Dr. Mario, so it's nothing special. But I would say, in this ranking of the worst Nintendo games ever, you know, I want to see which one is genuinely, like, bottom of the barrel, the worst of the worst, and which ones actually aren't too bad. Dr. Mario 64, obviously, ain't all too bad. But Dr. Mario 64, I think that belongs in S tier for now. Maybe at the low end of S tier because, you know, it is only Dr. Mario after all. Next up, let's go for some controversial ones. I'm thinking some Metroid stuff, you know. Metroid Other M and Metroid Prime Federation Force are two of the most controversial Nintendo games that they've ever released, and pretty much in the Metroid timeline release schedule, they kind of happened back to back. Years apart, mind you, but still, you know, Metroid Other M released in 2010, and then we pretty much had a long gap between new Metroid releases until Metroid Prime Federation Force. And yeah, that felt like a bit of a funky little decision on Nintendo's end. Knowing what we know now, it's obvious Nintendo was kind of trying to find a development team that could work on Metroid, specifically like 2D Metroid, and they finally found that with Mercury Steam. So it's not like they were like, F this franchise, but you could definitely tell they were trying to figure out like what to do next with it, what direction to take, and who was going to be working on it from that point forward. You know, because Nintendo has very specific development teams, and most of the time these teams are working on very specific franchises. And I don't really think there is a Metroid team like in-house at Nintendo. So, you know, they had to kind of look around, which is why Metroid Other M was developed by Team Ninja. Then Metroid Prime Federation Force was developed by Next Level Games, which is weird to think about. Like, that's weird to remember. You know, the Mario Strikers team, the Punch-Out team, the Luigi's Mansion team, they did a Metroid game. They did Metroid Prime Federation Force, and it kind of sucked. Metroid Prime Federation Force isn't horrible or anything. I think it's just very mediocre. Firstly, like, the art style is not really ideal. It's that their chibi art style with the big ass heads and small bodies and everything. And you're playing as the Federation Force in co-op. The entire game is designed around co-op. And it's a first-person shooter on the 3DS. All of this sounds horrible. Well, maybe not horrible, but like, all of this doesn't really add up to sound like an appealing Metroid game. You know, Metroid is kind of all about like the single player experience and you know, being alone and trying to figure out your way through these environments. You know, it doesn't always have to be about that. You know, Metroid has had multiplayer before, but after such a long wait to get this, it's just kind of like, this isn't what anybody really asked for. And on top of just being just a first-person shooter on the 3DS, it's competent at what it does. Like, the controls work fine, but it's just like, read the room, buddy. Especially when, a year later, they had Metroid Samus Returns, which kind of implies these were both being developed at the exact same time. So you just kind of wonder, like, why announce it in this way? I almost feel like it would have made more sense if Metroid Prime Federation Force released on, like, the Wii U, with Metroid Samus Returns releasing like around like when that game came out on Wii U. So then it's like, okay, so you get your co-op first-person shooter spin-off Metroid Prime game, but you also get like this traditional brand new 2D Metroid game. You know, brand new, it's a remake, reimagining, whatever. But obviously making this for the Wii U would have been more expensive, so throw it on the 3DS. F it, who cares? Who cares if nobody really wants to play a first-person shooter on the 3DS? I don't, just throw it on there. With that being said, I don't think this game is like bad per se. I feel like most of it has to do with the backlash that came from its announcement and all of that, and just how it released to just nothing, man. Like, I remember when this game launched, nobody talked about it. It just makes it kind of like this weird little fart in the 3DS's library, you know? Like, it just kind of came and went. I think it goes like straight into like low B tier, especially considering, I mean, this goes along with the fact that it's a 3DS game. Who the hell is gonna play this with you now? At least if it was like a home console game, you could at least like, just like, hey, you want to try going through Metroid Prime Federation Force? Sure. Who the hell is gonna bring their 3DS to your house just for the sake of playing Metroid Prime Federation Force? You're more likely to find somebody that's willing to sit there and watch you play Metroid Other M by yourself. Speaking of which, Metroid Other M. You know, this game is primarily clowned on for its focus on story. You know, up to this point, you know, Samus hadn't really talked, and like, there wasn't really much like dialogue in Metroid games in general. But then you have Metroid Other M, which is very talky and is very cutscene heavy and has far more characters than you're really used to seeing in Metroid, you know, which I don't think is like a bad thing. Obviously, just the story in general is very flawed and weak in Metroid Other M. Like, for example, there's the one scene where like Samus confronts Ridley after confronting Ridley multiple times in the past, but she's just like frozen out of fear, you know, it's very kind of like, I think there's just a lot of like very like cheesy moments that just kind of also like go against the characterization of Samus from, you know, past games or, you know, other Metroid-based material. But then again, I don't think it really like ruins the game. I think you can view it from a different angle of like, hey, you know, like, just because like, oh, Samus faced Ridley in like Super Metroid, you know, maybe they wanted to explore the fact that like, hey, it doesn't matter how many times you experience something, it doesn't really take away from like, you know, the fear you might have with it, the PTSD you might have with something. With that being said, the game is kind of annoying to control. They have you play it like NES gamepad style, and then you have to like, you know, swap it over for like first person mode every now and then. It's just, I I just don't really like playing a lot of games with the Wiimote on its side anymore. It was a fun novelty back then, but like, yeah, I mean, these days, especially with a game like Metroid Other M, which is not like a 2D game, it is like a 3D third-person game. Yeah, it doesn't feel good. I kind of wish they would just let you use like a Wiimote and nunchuck setup for the game. I don't know why you just can't do that, or they don't let you use like a classic controller or something with this game. With that being said, I don't think it's like a horrible game or anything. I think it's like, I think it's a fine Metroid game. I think it's okay. I don't think it's one of the better ones, but I do think it is better than Metroid Prime Federation Force. I wouldn't put it in S tier, but I'd say like a low A. It definitely has a fair amount of problems. It is not a perfect thing at all, but I think in the general pantheon of worst Nintendo games, it ain't that bad. However, fellas, I am so excited to talk about my favorite Donkey Kong-based mammal. It's Donkey Kong. I think I have about 3 games here to discuss. 3 of the worst Nintendo games involve Donkey Kong. What? I love Donkey Kong, and you love Donkey Kong too. How could they possibly release 3 bad Donkey Kong games? First up, it's Donkey Kong Jr. Math, bitch. Okay, this game is generally kind of the laughingstock of Nintendo published games. You know, it is just a Donkey Kong Jr. themed math game. But hear me out here. It does what it sets out to do. It is Donkey Kong Jr. Math, and what is the game? It's Donkey Kong Jr. Math. Obviously, Nintendo released this to kind of like meet a quota, because back during the launch of the NES, you know, they put out like their whole suite of like black box games, and each of these games had like a little icon in the corner telling you what series they're from. You know, the action series, sports series. You know, and Donkey Kong Jr. Math was from the educational series. So I feel like Nintendo was kind of putting out a lot of these games themselves, not only because, you know, they wanted to get their console going with a large variety of titles, and also because, like, you know, like they didn't have like a ton of third-party developers at that time developing for their system. So, you know, they wanted to make sure there was a large suite of games available. And I think especially at the time when you're trying to convince parents that this thing that your kid wants is not a manifestation of the devil himself, yeah, sure, put a math game out on your system. That'll do you good. Do I want to play this? No. But it's also like, it is what it is. I'm putting this above Metroid Prime Federation Force. Yeah. Next up, we have Donkey Konga. Now, I'm not actually sure how many people actually consider Donkey Konga to be the worst Nintendo game or anything. I just kind of thought about it myself. I'm going like, man, this sucks. I'm tired of acting like it isn't. Like, I think Donkey Konga is a cute idea. I love the fact that you have the accessory, you know, the DK bongos. That's all super fun, super cool. The concept is great. You know, just the fact that it's like, hey, you know, you have the DK bongos, and you're gonna do a music game called Donkey Konga. Aw. And the bongos look like the barrels from the arcade game and throughout the Donkey Kong series. Yeah, it's a wonderful idea. Developed by Namco, who did the Taiko Drum Master series. And yeah, you can easily tell, like, comparing Taiko Drum Master to Donkey Konga, you know, they're pretty much the exact same type of gameplay. The difference is you have 2 drums in Donkey Konga, and you have to use your palms, which makes it one of the most painful experiences to ever have in video games. By the end of one song, like your hands are gonna be beat red. It is god-awful. And the fact that like you have to clap, smack, all this stuff throughout the entire song, you can't hear the song very well. It's just like, it's so damn loud. It's annoying. I don't like it. I love the concept. I think it's cute. But, man, also, I have so many of those goddamn bongos lying around, man. It is rough. There was, like, a quote from, like, Reggie Fils-Aimé that he tried to stop them from putting out Donkey Konga. He thought it would damage the Donkey Kong brand. And, you know, I don't think it did, but I think at the time, it kind of did. Because it's like, that's all Donkey Kong was for like 5 years there. He was just the bongo bitch. Like, everywhere Donkey Kong went, these damn bongos followed him. It was weird. And there's 3 Donkey Konga games. Not only are there 3 Donkey Konga games, there's probably like 9 overall if you consider all the different regions playlists, because they're pretty much completely different games across each region. Yeah, that's too much. But I do like the concept. I'm gonna put this above Donkey Kong Jr. Math, because much like Donkey Kong Jr. Math, it does what it sets out to do. I just don't really like what it sets out to do. But I at least think it's a little more fun than Donkey Kong Jr. Math. And yeah, I mean, Metroid Prime Federation Force is just completely forgettable. More people remember Donkey Konga. I know that for a fact. All right, and the final Donkey Kong-based discussion point I have for today is Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. I went through this game. I'm pretty sure I 100%ed it. I got like the final like variant of Donkey Kong that's like way faster than everybody else in the game, so it just pretty much breaks it. I did my little story-based Giant Scott the Woz episode on this game, so I'm pretty much done talking about this game, but no, I'm not. This game is incredibly mediocre. It is very flawed, just with everything it aims to do. I would say it's better than Donkey Konga, though. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I'm definitely, like, contradicting myself here. Like, I've definitely said before that Donkey Konga is better, but this is the new me. This is what I'm thinking. Donkey Kong Barrel Blast is incredibly flawed. Its controls are stupid. But, like, once you get used to the game, you get used to it. I think the Wiimote controls, you know, the whole history behind the game is that it was meant to be released on the GameCube, and it was meant to use the DK bongos, which again would have been like cuter. It would have made a lot more sense, but now you use the Wii remotes and you shake them. Now, I feel like you may think playing this game that you have to be constantly shaking the Wii remote and nunchuck. I thought that initially, but no, you shake them to like do like a, you know, to get yourself up to max speed, and then you're good. And then you do like subtle shakes, you know, to the right or to the left to like move. Again, like it's stupid. It's not a great control scheme. I would much rather them just do a basic ass Donkey Kong racing game. But it's not the worst thing in the world. So many of the tracks are just the same, and the game it's not great, but I would put it above Donkey Konga. I'd put it at the top of B tier. Like, it's not horrible, but it's not good. And I think it's the epitome of that. Metroid Other M, I would say, is baseline. It's okay. Donkey Kong Barrel Blast, I wouldn't really say it's okay. I would say it's like, this is like a total like 5 out of 10 at most. But it doesn't hurt as much as Donkey Konga, and I think it's a little more justified to like pop back in than Donkey Konga. I don't know. I'll go with Donkey Kong Barrel Blast at the top of B tier. Okay, Mario Party 9. We got a couple of Mario Party games to go through on here. The Mario Party series obviously went through a bit of a funny little patch, starting with Mario Party 9. I am still really confused what happened with this series, because Hudson Soft developed the games from the first one all the way up to like Mario Party 8 and Mario Party DS in 2007. And then there was just a period of silence for years there. And I'm not really sure why, because Hudson Soft was bought by Konami and was dissolved in like 2011? Or they were bought by Konami in 2011, but then Konami just absorbed everything that was Hudson Soft in 2012. So Hudson Soft, I barely knew her. But Mario Party 9 released in 2012. Like, it released like pretty much around the exact same time that Hudson Soft like became no more and was just became a part of Konami. So I just kind of wonder what happened from like 2007 to like 2010, early 2011, before Konami bought Hudson Soft, because theoretically there should be no reason why Hudson Soft wasn't developing Mario Party games around that time. But, you know, hey, I could just read the Wikipedia article for Hudson Soft and I'll find it right there. After a bit of Googling, I still don't know why. So there was just no Mario Parties from like 2008 to 2012. And then Mario Party 9 released and it was like this grand return. I always thought Mario Party 9 looked really high quality, especially for a Wii game. I mean, like, even like the box art, it is just like so glittery, just so busy. Like there is just like, there is so much happening here. But then you actually play the game and it is complete dog shit. So props to them for trying to figure out like something new to do with Mario Party. Mario Party 9 plays pretty differently compared to the other ones. This time, like, you all move in a car and you all move together, and there's a beginning of the board and an end of the board, and you're collecting mini stars throughout the way. Bro, I don't even know how to explain this gameplay style. It feels very brain dead. Like, there is no real strategy going on here. It just, the fact that you all move together doesn't mean you can really make a ton of choices. I mean, like, sure, you probably could, like, you know, like, oh, so you're going next, so then I'm gonna go in this direction to fuck you over. But the game isn't designed around the idea of fucking each other over. You're working together, but also competing. It's very confused, and it is very confusing. Like, it's not confusing while you're playing it, it's fine. Like, you can understand what's going on, but like, you don't really feel like you're really doing anything. It feels like you're just going through the motions. It feels genuinely like a very brain dead thing to keep you occupied for like 30 minutes. Like, this is the Mario Party you play if you have a bunch of friends over and you're waiting for like to go somewhere or whatever, and you have 30 minutes to kill, so you play a game of Mario Party 9. But I don't even think it's good at that because I don't even want to play Mario Party 9. But like, that's the only situation where I feel like it makes sense. I think it's a very high quality game. It's a very polished game. I think it looks really nice. It sounds good. The mini games are good. They pretty much ditch most of the motion controls, which is really strange. You know, the Wii is like Nintendo's most successful multiplayer party game machine. And there were only 2 Mario Parties on it, and one of them sucked ass, and the other one was just kind of whatever. I like Mario Party 8, but it's definitely kind of in the lower echelon of the, you know, the classic Mario Parties. Mario Party 9 is just not really fun. I think is the best way to put it. It's a competent project, like it all came together in the end, but it came together to create something that's like a really, really mediocre board game for kids. And I think, in my opinion, that's why it goes at the bottom of B tier. Like, I don't think it's like this god-awful abomination. Sometimes I think that, but right now I'm thinking like it's not very good. It's not like horrible, like it functions, it works, but like the gameplay is just so brain dead. I'm just like, I don't like it. So yeah, bottom of B tier, right below Metroid Prime Federation Force. But what about its sequel, Mario Party 10? I hate Mario Party 10. I think Mario Party 10 is genuinely really, really egregious. I think what makes it really bad is the fact that they didn't learn a goddamn thing from Mario Party 9. They just did the same thing again. It's the same car mechanic, and it's worse now. Every element of Mario Party 10 is really not good. So you have like Bowser Party, which is the main mode, and you know, like the main mode of the game, it's on the damn box art. You have Bowser controlling the gamepad and all of that. Like, that's the main gimmick of this game. And yet, it is so bare bones. There's barely any boards in the game that you can play Bowser Party in, and Bowser Party features like only like 10 mini games for Bowser to play in. It's like the most repetitive shit ever when you're playing this game. Like, it's not enjoyable, and like there's not many ways for like Bowser to like mess with the group, so it just ends up feeling like an overly complicated like version of like a 3 versus 1 game in Mario Party. The standard Mario Party mode is literally the exact same as Mario Party 9. And then you have Amiibo Party, where the whole control scheme is you know, scanning an amiibo to roll your dice, and the overall gameplay is like the same as classic Mario Party. So it's like, oh great, that's awesome. The board is a fucking square. There's no strategy here. It's boring as hell. You're just looping around in a square. Maybe I'm being harsh on this game, putting it at the top of D tier. Honestly speaking, you know what? Let's move it up. It's low C. Because I think D should be reserved for, like, bottom of the barrel. Like, this is trash. Like, this is god-awful. And Mario Party 10, if you like the gameplay style for Mario Party 9, it's functional, it still works, but, like, nothing comes together in this game. And you just see it, like, this incredibly just not fun party game that's the successor to the same damn game on the Wii, and like nothing was really improved. It's just not fun. It doesn't do its job. I don't have a good time in this game. It's not a good party game. But listen, we might as well talk about the other Mario Party entry I have right here. It is just Mario Party on 3DS in general. You have Mario Party Island Tour, Mario Party Star Rush, which I don't really talk about because that one's okay, and Mario Party the Top 100. I think Mario Party the Top 100 is like the biggest culprit of like this is kind of ass. But Mario Party Island Tour is kind of like a bit of a sidestep for Mario Party 9. It obviously still has some of those Mario Party 9 genes in it, but at the very least, like at least like the characters are now moving like separately of each other. Like that's something. But the boards in Mario Party Island Tour are so bad. Like these boards are linear. Like they have a start and an end, and you don't really have any choice on where to go and what to do. So it's just like, okay, nice, you're moving separately, but like, holy crap, dude, like these are bad. This is fucking Candyland. But I think at least Island Tour has like a hefty amount of like just game to it. Like it feels like an actual game with like stuff to do in it. The stuff you're doing isn't very good, but it's like, at least that's something. Mario Party the Top 100 is literally a collection of 100 mini games from throughout the series. That's it. There's like one weird ass board based on Mario Party Star Rush, and like that's it. One board. There's one board in the game. It's pathetic. It's really bad. Mario Party on 3DS is really strange because I almost feel like each one entered production just so then Nintendo would have like a very casually appealing Mario game on the 3DS on store shelves that holiday. You know, like, it just felt like, why else what's the point of this? It's Mario Party. Why are you pushing it so much on the 3DS? 3 games on the 3DS. That's more than the Wii got. That's more than the Wii U got. That's the same as how much the Nintendo Switch got. You know, like, it's just, like, weird. Like, why did you put that many on the 3DS? And I just feel like it was just so then they would have, like, oh, man, it's Mario doing a big old pose on the game box art, and mom's gonna come into the store, she's gonna see that, and she's gonna be like, oh, Mario on the DS, my kids love this, all right, I'll pick this up. I don't know, man. I'm gonna put these above Mario Party 9. I think, you know, like Mario Party the Top 100, it is a completely bare bones experience, but at the very least, like, it is what it is. Yeah, it's Mario Party 100. I wouldn't really consider it the top 100, but it's 100 mini games, go for it. All right, folks, I want to talk a little bit about a funny little experience I had when I was a kid. Today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo DS browser. I didn't know what Wi-Fi was when I was a kid, so when I saw the Nintendo DS browser on store shelves, my mind was blown. I was thinking, I'm like, wow, my DS could literally be like a laptop wherever I go. Like, I was thinking, like, I could go on the internet in my car, like, on the bus, at the restaurant, all of this stuff. And technically speaking, there was a chance I could have done that. I didn't know what Wi-Fi was, though. I'm pretty sure I probably, like, read it like it was Wi-Fi or something like that. Like, I didn't understand it whatsoever. So I spent 30 of my hard-earned dollars on this game. Like, this was like a lot of allowance money I saved up for the Nintendo DS browser, and I got it home, I popped it in, you know, you get the whole, you know, memory pack expansion that you plug into the bottom. It's like, oh my God, now I'm so powerful, and I kept trying with it, and it never worked. I would keep trying. I would keep like messing around with like the keyboard and the settings and stuff, and just like just hoping, pretending, and just kind of enjoying the fact that like, oh, well, my DS has a little keyboard and, you know, it's trying to connect to the internet. So I almost feel like it's kind of like a little computer, even though I'm not seeing anything connected to the internet. Whatever. I was a dumb kid, but I wasted all my money on this game. And I looked up reviews of this game, and I think IGN gave it like a 3 out of 10. They were just like, they got it to work, and they were just like, yeah, this sucks. This was in a funny era where you would pay for web browsers. I spent 500 Wii points on the Wii Shop channel to get the internet channel, and $30 for the DS browser. Eventually, like, all of these things were like free. The Nintendo DSi came with the DSi browser, just featured on the system itself, you know, like you didn't have to even plug anything in and it ran better. This thing is bad. It's cute that it existed, but just for what it did to me back then, yeah, it's going at the bottom. It's going at the dead bottom. Like, this might be the worst thing Nintendo released, because not only did it scam me as a kid, you know, okay, like, it didn't really scam me, like, it did what it was supposed to do, but it did what it was supposed to do poorly. I even just look at the box art. The box art just shows, like, somebody browsing Nintendo.com. I'm like, was that all it was good for? The only thing I could kind of imagine doing on the DS browser back in like 2007 was like browsing Wikipedia articles, and like, that's it. So, no thank you, Nintendo DS browser. I have absolutely no patience for putting you in anything but the bottom of the barrel. Who else belongs at the bottom? I'm pissed. All right, Urban Champion. This is like one of the most clowned on Nintendo releases ever. It is a very early fighting game on the NES, and like, calling this a fighting game is really pushing it. I think you can hit the guy in the head and you can hit him in the gut, and that's pretty much it. And you want to push him into a pothole, and sometimes somebody from the top of the building that you're fighting in front of might drop a pot on your head. That's it. Urban Champion is like playable, but it isn't like, there's very little strategy at all to it. It genuinely is kind of like one of these early video games where it kind of feels like it was just to give you kind of like a fun little like fantasy of like, oh man, I wanna punch somebody. That's really all like Urban Champion feels like it fulfills. Like, there's no, it's not like Punch-Out, where like Punch-Out is like, you know, a kind of like a puzzle game, you know, like there is like a lot you have to like really look at and think about with Punch-Out. Urban Champion, it is kind of just like, just mash the buttons, man. That's kind of it. And like, Nintendo would just keep re-releasing this silly ass game. Like, all virtual console releases. They waited a while to put it out on Nintendo Switch Online, but they did it. But yeah, I'm trying to think with this one, man. Cause like, I kind of, you know, I don't want to be like the guy that just gives the exact same opinion as everybody else. This game kind of sucks. I think it belongs at the top of D tier. Honestly, it's Urban Champion. What the fuck are you gonna say about it? But this brings up something that I really want to talk about here. 3D Classics Urban Champion. Yeah, I'm counting this as its own little separate release because this is so stupid. So on the 3DS, Nintendo had a line of 3D remakes of retro games called 3D Classics. It had so much potential. They started things off with Excite Bike, and then they did Xevious, you know, and eventually they did like Kid Icarus, Kirby's Adventure. And at E3 2010, when they first unveiled the 3DS, Nintendo showed like demo footage of other retro games, stuff like, you know, like Mario and Zelda, you know, running in 3D. So this line had a ton of potential. The problem is there was only like 6 games that they did, and then they stopped, which is a damn shame. There's so many other retro games in Nintendo's catalog that I think would have been really cool to see in 3D. Not Urban Champion, that's for damn sure. What the hell? Like, you only have 6 games? You only have 6 games to do this with, and one of them you do a remake of Urban Champion. This was a joke. Like, I think Nintendo knew this was a joke. It's not better, you know? Like, it's in widescreen now. There's, like, a new mode, pretty much, where, like, it'll play from, like, a 3D angle. I think this is worse than Urban Champion because, at the very least, Urban Champion was released in, you know, the mid 80s. Like, it's just, it kind of sucks, but you kind of expect that. You know, it's a black box NES game. A lot of those suck. But 3D Classics Urban Champion, like, had a chance to potentially make Urban Champion better. Also, it took a slot away from, like, God knows, any other game. I would have taken any other game. It doesn't even benefit from 3D at all. Like, what's the point of this? Like, I don't know. It's going below Urban Champion. 3D Classics Urban Champion, I think, is far more offensive because they knew better when that released. Urban Champion on NES, like, you can make the argument they didn't know as much better. This time, like, you know, they were just fucking around. You know what? Let's talk about some other black box NES games. This one is generally kind of talked about very poorly these days. It's the original Ice Climber. Now, Ice Climber pretty much has a lot of notoriety entirely because of Smash Brothers. You know, and I think they're a great little representation of, like, a classic Nintendo franchise in that game. You know, very unique characters. You know, it was awesome to see them, you know, come back to Smash Brothers Ultimate after being absent in Smash 3DS and Wii U. But most people will agree the game itself is awful. You know what I hate about defending, like, games like this is that it makes it sound like this is all I do is play this kind of crap. Damn, I can't wait to get home tonight and fire up a game of Ice Climber. This game's controls are pretty rough, but I think that's kind of the point. It's meant to be a little stiff. And I think that kind of adds a unique challenge to it. The fact that it's a little slippery, the fact that, you know, you have to kind of, like, jump and then kind of angle it a little bit, I think it makes for an interesting challenge. I wouldn't say this is, like, a bad game. It's more so, like, a game you kind of have to, like, play a little bit and learn a little bit. Not saying that I know more than other people playing this game. I didn't really learn Ice Climber, but I can definitely understand that, like, this is not a game that's immediately pick up and, like, damn, this is so much fun. But, you know, if you kind of stick with it for a little bit and you play it and you kind of understand that, like, it is kind of just like an arcade game that's like, hey, you know, like, you kind of just go through these stages and, you know, the fact that they get harder, you know, and, like, they're not that hard at the beginning and like, the controls are kind of stinky, but, like, that's kind of the point, you know, that's kind of where the challenge comes from. I hate how I sound right now. I sound like such a fucking creep right now. Do I like Ice Climber? Not really, but I don't think it's, like, as bad as a lot of people say it is. I think it's just kind of like, it's a game of its era, and I think I can appreciate it. Like, when I play it, like, I'm like, yeah, the controls are not what I really want them to be, but you kind of can tell, like, it makes things a little more tense, and the controls aren't, like, uncontrollable or anything. Like, I feel like that's kind of part of the challenge of the game. It's kind of like how I'm not really a fan of, like, the original arcade and NES version of Mario Brothers. And I think that's just because, like, the controls are different from Super Mario Brothers, but it's kind of hard to, like, wrap my brain around that, you know? Like, I look at these damn turtles and I'm thinking, like, I should be able to stomp on them, and they're like, fuck you. Here's the thing, I don't even think Ice Climber was really that popular back in the day even, so it's like, it's not even like, oh yeah, it was a game of its era. People loved it back then. And just like, I don't really think people loved it back then. I think it was just kind of like, it's there if you want it. Here's a Nintendo game. And if you have it, you try it out, you play it. I'm kind of struggling on where to put this. I think it belongs right below Mario Party 9. Ice Climber has the enjoyment of one, like, mediocre Mario Party minigame. And that's why it goes at the bottom of B. Like, it's like, it's not great, but I don't think it's, like, anything that egregious at all. And as egregious as Mario Party 9 can be, and the Mario Party 3DS games, you know, like, I feel like some things balance them out where it's like, yeah, like I said, like, the mini games are pretty good in them, and, you know, they look and play fine and all of that. So, you know, who knows, man? I mean, like, I could look at this list in, like, a week and be like, this is fucked up. How about the other black box game I got here? Well, these are games in general. We're talking the NES black box sports games. I will make the claim that these are potentially the hardest black box NES games to go back to. The other ones, like, at least have, like, a fun, like, style or premise to them. Urban Champion's kind of a funny just premise. It's just two dudes fighting in an alley. Ice Climber is interesting. What the am I playing baseball and NES for these days? At the very least, the other ones, like, you know, Urban Champion, Ice Climber has, like, a challenge to it. You can enjoy it kind of like a little arcade game. Urban Champion, I mean, like, it's just so dumb that, like, it's like, okay, that's kind of funny. Baseball on any, like, there's nothing, man. There's nothing for you there. Soccer, tennis, it's all the same. All of these games are just kind of garbage. At the time, like, they made do, like, you can make do with them, but these days, no, like, there is no enjoyment I really get out of old black box NES sports games. They're going right below Urban Champion, but above 3D Classics Urban Champion, mainly because, again, 3D Classics Urban Champion, it was bad on purpose. These other ones, I don't really think they were trying to be bad on purpose. All right, let's kind of do something a little more modern here. I got a little 2-for-1 here. Let's go over both of these. They're the Detective Pikachu games. Strange ass things right here. I remember Detective Pikachu being, like, initially teased years before it released. And it released episodically in Japan, where, like, the first, like, bit was, like, released in Japan as, like, a digital only game. And then, like, 2 years later, they finished it. And that's when we got, like, the full game here in North America as just Detective Pikachu in 2018. But then, like, years prior, there was, like, these weird developmental, like, update from, like, Creatures Inc., which was, like, you know, they're one of the copyright holders for Pokemon. And they were working on, like, a weird Pikachu-related game for the 3DS where he was, like, making weird faces. This was in, like, 2013. 2013, and then this whole thing, the first bit launched in, like, 2016, and then the full game launched in 2018. 5 years! This game pretty much took 5 years to develop. And they had the movie and stuff, which the movie was kind of cool. It's very forgettable, though, which is weird. I remember that movie being, like, really well done, like, visually, and you know, I felt like they realized the Pokemon world pretty well. Just strange. I think they picked it because, like, it's like, okay, here's a Pokemon game story that we could tell easily as a movie because it's a little more story-based and we can do, like, a little cute Detective Pikachu or something. I don't know. It's a little weird. But the game itself is very much baby's first detective game. It's not great at all. I mean, like, for what it is, like, you know, you have, like, some voice acting in there, a lot of animation. It's like what I just feel like for the amount of effort that goes into this game, what's the point? Like, I just feel like that effort would have been better spent in numerous other places, but it's all just spent on Detective Pikachu, and I'm like, come on, bro. It's just so, like, who cares? The only thing about Detective Pikachu that I kind of like is the movie, and even then the movie is very forgettable. I think Detective Pikachu belongs at, like, the top of C tier just because it is so just, who the hell cares? That brings us to Detective Pikachu Returns, which I think is ridiculous that they did this game. So, like, I remember back in, like, it was like 2019 when Nintendo announced, or the Pokemon Company announced, they were like, hey, Detective Pikachu the movie's doing well, so we want to announce that we're going to be bringing the game, or at least we're going to be finishing the story on Nintendo Switch. This is stupid. There's no point. I feel like it would have made a lot more sense to just do, like, an HD remaster of the original Detective Pikachu and have, like, a little epilogue at the end. It was ridiculous to me that they announced this game as such. They just said, like, we're gonna finish the story on Nintendo Switch. Who the hell knew what that meant? But the fact it took them 4 years to get there. 4 years. This game launched in 2023, 5 years after the original Detective Pikachu launched in North America. 4 years after it was actually announced. This is just pointless, man. And this one doesn't even look good. It just feels like a complete waste of time and energy. again, like, it's fine. I think I'm just gonna bundle this in with the original Detective Pikachu as, like, these are just kind of games that just make me feel nothing. Like, I just feel like I'm wasting my damn time playing it. At the very least, a lot of these other games, I don't really feel like I'm wasting my time playing them. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like, anything in, like, B tier and above, I don't really feel like I'm wasting my time with. Maybe Metroid Prime Federation Force, I feel like I'd probably feel like I'm wasting my time with that. But anything below B tier, by and large, is like mostly like, yeah, I'm wasting my time with this thing. This is a funny one. Disney's Magical Mirror starring Mickey Mouse. This is a weird one that I don't think a lot of people know about. It was published by Nintendo. It was developed by Capcom. It is a weird-ass point-and-click adventure game on the GameCube. It is awful. I think this is going in D. There's like no dialogue, there's no explanation on what to do. It's just a bunch of weird shit happening. This feels like a game that's meant to be like running at like the dentist office. Like my dentist office, when I was a kid, they had a GameCube in the little waiting room, and I remember playing like Monkey Ball and stuff on there. But this feels like a kind of game that would just be like running at all times in like a waiting room, and the kids would come up and like mess around with the controller for like 2 minutes to just see Mickey Mouse do something. And that's it. I'm sorry I remember a lot of IGN scores in my head, but this got like a 4 or something out of 10. They're just like, what the hell is the point of this? I'm sorry, I'm popping that right below 3D Classic Serpent Champion, because I feel like this had the potential to be something special. There's been some pretty solid Disney games throughout the years, and even then, like, this has like, oh, Disney's Magical Blank. There's like a series of like SNES games like Disney's Magical Quest, and those are pretty good 2D platformers. So even just implying that this is kind of in the same realm as that, I think is fucking putrid. Mario Pinball Land on the Game Boy Advance. I think this was just kind of released to meet the quota of like, Mario's done everything. He's done this, he's done that, he's done pinball. I mean, no, you had Pokemon Pinball, you had Metroid Prime Pinball. Both of those are pretty well liked and respected. Metroid Prime Pinball is something that you think would be like, God, that is so embarrassing or something. It's really cute. It's kind of fun. You know, and it makes sense because, you know, you have Samus turning into like the morph ball, and then you have like pinball boards where, you know, you're bouncing them around. You know, like it's kind of fun. Mario Pinball Land has always been like criticized. Not only, I mean, like you look at the opening cutscene where they literally turn Mario into a ball, and it's like, what is this? This is genuinely terrifying. I think Mario Pinball Land is like weirdly kind of ambitious with the fact that like they try to make it like an adventure. They try to turn it into like a full-blown like game where like you're going through worlds and you know you have to like go through certain challenges and all of that. Like it's not a traditional pinball game in the sense like here's a couple of boards, have some fun playing pinball. So I think Mario Pinball Land kind of fails as an adventure game, it as a pinball game. Like it doesn't do either one of them that great because of that. Because it's just like, if you want to play like an adventure game, why the hell do you want it to be pinball based? And if you want to play a pinball game, well, this is kind of a shitty pinball game because it's not like the boards are set up like an actual pinball machine. They're kind of set up in like a weird kind of like way. It's a very unique way. I don't think this game is like that bad, but it's just kind of like, man, this is just kind of an awkward game. That's the best way to describe it. Mario Pinball Land is an awkward-ass video game. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of A, below Metroid Other M. It's not like it's bad. I think it's just awkward at what it is. It's an awkward teenager of a video game. Hey You Pikachu. This is kind of an interesting release. The fact that, you know, like it comes bundled with a microphone and you can talk to Pikachu. It doesn't work very well, especially considering like this released around the time as like Seaman on the Dreamcast, and the voice recognition on that is actually pretty sophisticated for the time. Like it's not going to be perfect, and like obviously like, you know, the game character is going to respond to you in like, you know, kind of predetermined ways. But yeah, I mean, like it was very sophisticated for when it was released. Hey You Pikachu is not very sophisticated. It especially doesn't feel very sophisticated because, you know, they can kind of like wiggle their way around the fact that the voice recognition software isn't very good, because they can just have Pikachu just respond however the hell they want him to. Like, it doesn't matter if Pikachu didn't recognize what you said, because Pikachu's just gonna respond just whatever the hell, who cares? It's just gonna go Pika Pika. I don't know. Yeah, sure, you understood what you were saying. I don't know. This is hard because, like, this isn't really much of a game, you know? This is a literal children's toy that released as a game cartridge on Nintendo 64. I think it's cute, and like, you can definitely get some dumb fun out of it, but yeah, I mean, Detective Pikachu and Detective Pikachu Returns are actual video games, and they do work. I think I'm putting this below Mario Party 10. It doesn't mean like I hate this game, but it's just like, you playing this right now? Seriously, are you gonna play this tonight? You're gonna come home from work, gonna slam your briefcase on the kitchen table, and you're gonna loosen up your tie, and you're gonna be like, oh, damn. Hey, you Pikachu, let's plug that in. Now, in addition to this, I would like to talk about kind of the spiritual successor to Hey You Pikachu, which is Pokemon Channel on the GameCube. Now, of course, like, I haven't played this game for hours on end, but from what I know about it and from what I have played, I think this is worse than Hey You Pikachu. Because at least Hey You Pikachu, you at least have kind of the funny gimmick of being able to talk to Pikachu. Pokemon Channel is mostly just watching TV with Pikachu. And you have, like, some things you can do in the game. I haven't seen a ton of them. I haven't gotten a ton of, like, actual video gamey things going on in Pokemon Channel. They do exist. They are there. I think this kind of goes right next to Hey You Pikachu, and I'm honestly gonna put it, like, below Hey You Pikachu, because Pokemon Channel is kind of like this weird-ass, like, interactive, but not really just screensaver. It's a screensaver. That's what it feels like. Pokemon Channel is basically like a full price screensaver. Oh boy, it's Wii Music. All right, so this is generally considered like one of the worst things Nintendo has ever made. I believe there was an interview in like 2013 where like Shigeru Miyamoto was saying like, I think I made one bad game in my career, and everybody was like crossing their fingers going like, please say it's Wii Music. No, I think he said it was Zelda 2, so hey, why not? Let's talk about Zelda 2 alongside this one. Dude, like, Zelda 2 is pretty good. like I went through Zelda 2. I went through a good chunk of Zelda 2 like a couple years back, and I liked it. Like, I did use a guide for most of it, but like, I like the game. It's not like any other Zelda game, but a lot of Zelda games aren't necessarily like any other Zelda games. You know, at the time of its release, there wasn't a distinct formula as like, this is what Zelda needs to be. You know, they tried something new with Zelda 2, and I think it was fine for what it was, you know? Obviously, like, I'm pretty happy with the direction they took Zelda, you know, moving forward. But Zelda 2, I think, is a very fun and engaging kind of action RPG, where you have kind of some elements of Zelda 1 in there, and the combat being, like, the side-scrolling sections, and leveling yourself up, you know, over time. And just kind of like grinding a bit, you know, like I think it really kind of scratches the itch of, you know, another big NES adventure game, especially at the time. I think it does a pretty good job. I think it's pretty good for what it is, you know? You know what, fuck it. It's going at the top right now. Like, I think Zelda 2 is probably one of the best, worst Nintendo games. Yeah, you all just don't like it because it's different. Well, the same can be said about Wii Music. What a different-ass game. It sucks. Kind of like Hey You Pikachu, Wii Music is more of a toy. It's kind of, you know, it's kind of like a digital noisemaker. You know, it kind of released during the height of the rhythm game craze. So, you know, to an extent, like, I think it's kind of cute that, you know, they wanted to do something pretty different with it. It is kind of like, hey, let's give people that don't know how to play instruments the fun and joy of playing said instruments with a Wii remote and nunchuck and everything. So even if you don't know how to play a trumpet, you know, you use a Wii remote to mimic playing a trumpet, and you know, you can kind of enjoy the idea of it. I think that's kind of commendable. I don't think it really succeeded. I think the most fun parts of Wii Music is when it's an actual damn video game. The fact that, like, you end each performance by rating your own performance, I think is silly. But I think Wii Music primarily gets a ton of hate because Nintendo kind of pushed it at a time when people were kind of sick of it. You know, this was like at E3 2008, and this whole press conference, Nintendo didn't really have like a ton of like games for their core fan base, and then they like end the whole press conference with a Wii Music Jam session. That's a little goofy, and it's not very fun for somebody that's desperately hoping for like a new Zelda or a new Metroid or a new like traditional Mario game or whatever, you know? You know, at the time there was a ton of franchises that, you know, you hadn't seen a ton, and you know, like people were like, I want to see F-Zero, Star Fox, Donkey Kong, Kirby, whatever, and you know, you get Wii freaking music. With that being said, you know, Wii Music is just a noisemaker. That's what it's meant to be. You know, like Nintendo has always said, this was kind of like what they meant Wii Music to be. Now, I think the problem is like they're trying to give you the satisfaction of playing music without doing a damn thing, which I think kind of is like that's where the satisfaction of playing music comes from. It doesn't come from just like, oh, I'm just gonna just hold the trumpet and it just all comes out. As somebody who has very limited musical expertise, like I played trombone in middle school and I was not good, but I felt that satisfaction like playing a song correctly, you know, playing the correct notes, working at it, you know, like working hard to get to a point where like I can kind of like play a melody, you know, like correctly. And Wii Music is like, well, we want to give you that satisfaction without even trying. And I'm like, I that's commendable, but it's also like that satisfaction doesn't exist. Like me hitting a couple of buttons and hearing Daydream Believer come out, it's not that satisfying. With that being said, I think it did a lot less damage than Metroid Prime Federation Force and the Mario Party games, so it's going right below Donkey Kong Jr. math. I think people like to claim that Wii Music did damage or whatever, especially at the time, you know, like when I was watching gaming content in 2008, people would rip Nintendo a new one, pretty much being like, Wii Music sucks and they don't care about you. I'm just like, Wii Music was one game, they did it once, and then they just moved on in 2009 to giving you Punch-Out and New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and then they gave you Donkey Kong Country Returns in 2010. They gave you Sin and Punishment Star Successor in 2010. You're trying to tell me Nintendo doesn't care about the hardcore fans? This is an interesting one. Super Mario Bros. 2, the original one, the Lost Levels, the Japanese Mario 2. These days, pretty much a lot of people will say this is the worst Mario game. It is completely unfair. It is bullshit. The level design in this game is bullshit. I mean, even on its original release, like, you can see, like, this golden little ribbon that says this is for super players. Like, they made sure to be like, this is for if you know what the hell you're doing. And, of course, for being, like, the second attempt at, like, this kind of like platformer by Nintendo, they were still trying to figure out like what makes a good difficulty in a video game. So it's very interesting looking back at this because you can kind of see like how it almost seems like kind of an amateurish level designer trying to make like a challenging level in like Mario Maker or something, you know? Either it's not difficult enough or it's balls hard, it's ridiculous. It's like, what the hell is going on here? I can kind of see like them trying to figure themselves out, you know, as level designers with Mario 2 Japan. You know, it's not like it's like unplayable or anything because numerous people have beaten this game. But damn it, it is not very fun to play. I think at this point, what's fun about Mario 1 is blasting right through it. You know, it's still tricky in those final bits, but yeah, I mean, like the fun thing about Mario 1 isn't like going bit by bit and just, you know, taking your time with it. Like, we all know Mario 1 by now. It's fun to just blast right through a world 1-1 and 1-2 and then take the warps on all that stuff, you know. I think what makes Mario 1 fun is the fact that we all know it very well. So you bring us a game that none of us know very well, and you kind of have like those growing pain kind of like controls where like Mario 1 has good controls, but you know, they aren't as good as they are in future games. And you know, you create like some level designs that I'm not as familiar with and are also meant to be stupidly hard. And yeah, this game is dumb and frustrating a lot of the time. This game is literally like sadistic, you know, like you have the poison mushroom appear, you have warp zones that bring you like back in the game, you know, like it's like, hey, screw you for trying to cheat. It's funny, you know, like this game kind of like tries to go against everything you already learned in Mario 1. but I wouldn't say this is like a horrible game or anything. It's just it is a hard, stupid game. I'm putting it at the top of B tier. You know, like I think it has problems. There's a reason why they did not bring it out here in North America for the longest time. Also, you know, the fact that Mario 2 USA kind of became like the de facto version of Mario 2. Like, that game brought more to the Mario franchise than this game ever did. Like, this game didn't introduce jack dick. The poison mushroom, sure, but like, who cares? At the end of the day, I don't think Mario 2 Japan is like a horrible game or anything. I think, you know, like, it's just a hard, weird little bastard that I don't really like to play. But, you know, I do think it's better than, you know, all the games that, you know, like, I put below it. All right, so I got a couple of Nintendo Switch games right here that I kind of want to go through these all right now. We got one that I think everybody likes to talk about. It's 1-2 Switch. I've made excuses for 1-2 Switch multiple times before, and it's because, like, I can see, like, some fun you can have with it, but much like a couple of the other games on this list, the fun kind of comes down to it just being like a cute little toy to mess around with. It's one of those toys that, like, it's cool the first time, and then after that it's like, what are we doing here? It's like there's no fun in this anymore. I don't care. You know what might be a little crazy? I think I'm putting this above Mario Party 10 though. I'm genuinely serious when I say, like, you put a gun to my head and you tell me to play Mario Party 10 or 1-2 Switch, kill me first, and then I'll play 1-2 Switch. There's something there with 1-2 Switch. The idea of a game where you're looking at the other player and, you know, you're using the controller and you're trying to, like, you know, like, figure things out with vibrations and very minimal on-screen thing. It's like a video game without the video, but it's still a completely a video game. There's something there with that, you know? But, you know, that doesn't make for a good video game. And that is double the case with everybody 1-2 Switch. This is kind of a Mario Party 10 situation where, by proxy, this is worse than 1-2 Switch because they didn't learn their lesson. I think it is insane Nintendo thought a sequel to 1-2 Switch was necessary. 1-2 Switch sold as well as it did, which, you know, it sold pretty well, but, like, nothing that, like, crazy, especially compared to other Nintendo published Switch games. It sold as well as it did because it was a launch title and people were willing to give it a shot. They were like, oh, what am I gonna play with my brand new system? Well, I might as well try this out because when the hell else would I try it out? Everybody 1-2 Switch, releasing in 2023, like, absolutely served no purpose. I think the only major thing that they learned from this was that it was $30. It was a budget title. And it's just crazy to me because, like, apparently, like, so many people within Nintendo were saying, like, this game is not very good. Like, what are we doing? You know, upon playing it, yeah, it's another 1-2 Switch game. There's a lot of variety in terms of, like, different ways to play. You know, you use your smartphone a lot. It has the whole gimmick of, like, oh, you could potentially play with up to 100 players. When the hell that's gonna happen, I don't know. Like, literally the only situation where I can imagine that ever being a case is at, like, a wedding. What the f*** are you doing playing this at your wedding? Much like 1-2 Switch, there's a couple of, like, cute little mini games, but I played it once. I have absolutely no desire to play it again. Like, that's a major difference. Like, 1-2 Switch came out at the launch of the Nintendo Switch, and I think I had a desire to play it again, mainly because I was desperately hoping that I would have, like, a little bit of fun like I did the first time again. Wasn't the case. Like, it is a one and done kind of experience. Everybody 1-2 Switch, I didn't even have that much fun with it the first time. It's way more padded out than the original 1-2 Switch. It has less, like, mini games and all of that. It doesn't really have a purpose. There's some fun with it, I will say, you know, like, you can have some fun with it, but I think at the end of the day, like, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think. I was about to put it below 3D Classics Urban Champion, but I mean, like, I think it's at least above the NES sports games. Because let's be honest, like, what would you rather play? Like, even if you're the most cynical dude ever who's just like, I don't want to play a Nintendo minigame collection. Yeah, I'd probably prefer playing this to an NES sports game right now. Yeah. Now, Mario Strikers Battle League. This is a tricky one because this is kind of the punching bag for everybody, pretty much. Like when it comes to like the worst Mario games, the worst Nintendo Switch games, all of that. This is pretty high up there. You know, it's not the worst Nintendo Switch game out there. You know, there's far worse. But at least when it comes to like games published by Nintendo, you know, like big Nintendo Mario games, this is one of the worst ones. Now, why is that? Well, this game kind of follows a lot of the problems that a lot of other Mario sports games have suffered from, which, hell, I mean, like, f*** it. I know we were on a Nintendo Switch tirade, but we can also do some Mario sports games, too. They're still on the list. So we also have Mario Tennis Ultra Smash and Mario Sports Superstars. Mario Strikers Battle League is better quality-wise than both of these games. Like, I think the core gameplay of Strikers Battle League is actually quite good. My main problem with it, though, is that I feel like the controls are overly complicated. It's not like you can't understand it, but it's more so like whenever I play the game, I don't remember the controls. I have to play the tutorial again. I have to check the controls again. At least with like a lot of other Mario sports games, like I could jump into Mario Tennis Ultra Smash again. I don't have to look up a damn thing. I know how it controls. I know how to play it. Same with like other Switch Mario sports games. Mario Tennis Aces, I might need a little refresher because you do have like the zone shots and all of that. I do kind of need to get a refresher on that, but I feel like that's a little more immediately like, oh yeah, okay, that's what you have to do. Okay, Mario Golf Super Rush, no problem with that either. Mario Strikers Battle League, I just feel like it's overcomplicated for what it is. It's a party soccer game, man. But at the end of the day, that's all it is. This game is so lacking in content, so lacking in soul. The way the camera angle is in the game makes it so then all the stadiums look exactly the same. It is the exact same camera angle every single time, which is ridiculous because they have like multiple different stadiums. They would do their free updates for this game where they'd say, hey, there's a brand new stadium. It wouldn't matter at all. All the stadiums play the same. They look the same. The only difference is that each stadium brought, you would only see them in like the cutscenes and all of that. And even then, like it's just so repetitive because the cutscenes are amazingly animated. Like they look so good. Like the characters move so fluidly. But it's the same stuff every single time, you know, like it's just the same animations to play over and over and over and over again. That's the only way you're going to be able to tell there's a damn difference in any of the stadiums. It is a very miserable experience. Like it has good gameplay. That's the problem. It has good gameplay. It's there, but there's nothing around it. There's no sass around it. But here's the thing, and I know, like, I feel like a lot of people are gonna be like, "What? It's the worst game ever. It belongs." I think it belongs in low A, because again, the gameplay is pretty good in Mario Strikers Battle League. It's just everything around it just sucks any of the good that can come from it. But you know, I mean, the core gameplay is there. It's decent. You know, I think it belongs below Mario Pinball Land. You know, like I don't think it belongs alongside Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. Like that's ridiculous. Now, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash and Mario Sports Superstars, this is a bit more tricky. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash is a bad video game because of a lot of the same reasons as Mario Strikers Battle League. It's not like the gameplay is bad in Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. It's a perfectly sound arcadey tennis game. That's just all it is, though. But the thing is, Mario Tennis Ultra Smash doesn't have like unique enough gameplay or a deep enough gameplay system to really warrant that. I mean, like Mario Strikers Battle League doesn't warrant that either. I think that shows like you can have the deepest gameplay ever, like you can have the most okay gameplay ever. I don't even think Mario Strikers Battle League is like that deep, but it's like it's decent gameplay, you know, it works well. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash has far less than Mario Strikers Battle League does when it comes to like, you know, like what sets the gameplay apart from whatever other tennis games. And it also similarly has like dog shit amount of content. You know, and it's very strange because I honestly feel like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash has like a little more to do than Mario Strikers Battle League. It's a little weird. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash has like a couple extra little modes. You unlock things like the special versions of characters and You know, other characters like the Sprixie Princess and Grover Cleveland. I think the main difference is Mario Tennis Ultra Smash was very obviously done in a very cheap, cobbled together way to just put out something out on Wii U in holiday 2015. So I think it's worse. But it is kind of strange when you compare these two games. They are very similar. They do have very similar problems. But I do think Mario Tennis Ultra Smash is worse. I don't like this game, but I would rather play it than a lot of other games. I think I just don't like what this game represents more than I dislike playing it, you know? Because playing it, it's just a whatever tennis game. You know, like, it's fine. It's whatever. But, like, just the fact that, like, they just kind of, like, farted this out in the holiday of 2015 to just put out, dear God, anything out on Wii U. You know, that's kind of what it was. I think Mario Tennis Ultra Smash is at top of C. So that does make me kind of think if I ranked Mario Strikers Battle League too high. I do think it's better than a lot of the, you know, like, I do think it's a better game than Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. They at least tried to make it something new, but like a lot of what it tried to do just falls on its face. Like, it's just pointless. Like the gear system, it's pointless. But it doesn't really feel like patronizing. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash feels patronizing. Feels like a lot of the modes that they give you feels like they're like trying to entertain you with like a piece of string and like a wad of gum or something. They're like, oh, look at this. You can put the string in the gum and now it's tetherball. And oh, you can put the string in the gum and put it on and tape it to your hand and it's like a paddle ball now. You know, like, it's trying to make the most out of nothing. Like, you have Mega Ball Rally where it's like, oh, it's a big ball and you gotta rally it back and forth. Oh, it's Mega Mushroom mode where you grow big. It doesn't affect anything, you know, like, it's just like, I don't know. It's very, I think high C. I think high C makes sense. Y'all remember Pokemon Quest? I think this was the first thing Game Freak developed for the Switch. I know Pokken Tournament DX was the first, like, Pokemon release on Switch, but I think Pokemon Quest was, like, the first, like, Game Freak developed Pokemon thing. It's weird. It's like a mobile game that was free to play, that launched on Switch and mobile, and I think a lot of people like rushed to download. They were like, oh wow, we gotta try this, and like, I don't know, bottom C tier. Maybe put it above Hey You Pikachu, but at least Hey You Pikachu's got that uniqueness to it. Like, everybody knows Hey You Pikachu. I don't know. I don't even have anything to say about Pokemon Quest. It came and went. It was nothing. There was nothing to it. Where the hell am I putting this thing? Yeah, I'm just gonna put it below Pokemon Channel, just because at least these games have merit, because I know some people are like, I like these games as a kid. I'm like, fine, okay, your nostalgia wins out. Pokemon Quest goes below. Look, Pokemon Quest was so bad, I forgot I was in the middle of ranking Mario sports games that have nothing to do with the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, let's go back to that. Mario Sports Superstars. This game is horrible. I think this game has less merit than Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. It's worse. Or maybe it isn't. I mean, like, you get multiple other sports. No, it doesn't have any merit, I don't think. I don't think it does a damn thing worthwhile. You know? Like, you have tennis included in there, which is just a stripped down version of like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash / Mario Tennis Open. And you have a stripped down version of Mario Golf World Tour with like nothing else to it. Like, no character, no nothing. There's no character in anything in this game. And then you have soccer and baseball, and they play nothing like Mario Strikers or Mario Baseball. And they're completely like these generic ass, like, horrible versions of them. Then you get horse racing out of nowhere. I will say, at the very least, like, there's like content to play in this game. But, like, this game feels like it was made specifically for a kid who got this game for their birthday and would just kind of play it on road trips just to have something Mario themed to play. I don't know. I know this sounds stupid, but it's like, I think this game is abysmal. I at least feel like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash has a little bit of Mario flair to it. I think it's cute that, like, the Sprixie Princess from 3D World is unlockable. And I think just the feeling of it, at the very least, feels like, okay, it's another Mario Tennis game. It's bare bones as hell, but at least it's another Mario Tennis game. Mario Sports Superstars feels like it is the most generic-ass sports game. Like, it feels like it is not made by Nintendo. It is not a Mario game at all. And nothing's fun in the game. It's just, it's so generic. It's so bad. There's some content in it, but it's not worth a damn at all. But is it worse than Mario Tennis Ultra Smash? I know I said it was, but it has more content than Ultra Smash. At the very least, it does. I honestly would rather play Mario Tennis Ultra Smash than Mario Sports Superstars. I'm gonna be completely honest. And I don't really know why. I think just because, like, honestly, the extra little modes in Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, I think it would be more fun to play Mega Ball Rally than it would be to do really anything in Mario Sports Superstars. This is a game that feels like I'm wasting my time. Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, at the very least, feels like I'm wasting time playing it, but I'm kind of just passing time by. It's not something I'm really going to play for a long time. Like the game knows what it is. The game knows that it doesn't have a ton of content. Mario Sports Superstars tries to act like it has a ton of content. Oh, it's 5 sports in one. There's so many different things you can do with each sport. Like, I feel like it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. So honestly, I think it's at the bottom of C tier. I think it's the bottom of that. I don't think it's like the worst thing Nintendo's ever done, but personally, it's one of my least favorite things Nintendo's ever done. So that's where it goes. Now we're going back to the Nintendo Switch games with Endless Ocean Luminous. One of the worst things Nintendo has ever done. I played this game for like an hour or two, and I was bored out of my mind, and I thought it was ugly. I thought it was very just lazily designed, or at the very least, like, it was on a tight budget and they wanted to make the most out of it. So they made it like, the ocean is procedurally generated. And like, you know, like they try to like pass that off as like a selling point. They were like, oh, it's different every time. And I'm just like, it just makes it sound like, I'm like, it's like the ocean already looks boring in this game. And now, like, it's not even like specifically designed to be interesting. At the very least, like, if they had like an actual level designer and game designer actually craft the ocean to be interesting to explore, and like, you know, like make it so then, like, you know, things are set up in a certain way where, like, yeah, you're going through the ocean and it's going to be interesting. That would at least be something. But no, it's procedurally generated, so I just feel like I'm just looking through random bullshit. And I don't care. It feels very cheap. It feels like they had a chance to make an Endless Ocean game, but they had to do it on a budget. I mean, even the fact that like the you have like this AI text-to-speech program like talking to you and explaining things in the tutorial, I'm just like, wow, this is rough. I think I'm putting it right above 1-2 Switch and below Detective Pikachu. I think the Detective Pikachu games, at least, like, okay, like, whatever. They're baby's first mystery games, but at the very least, I'm like, whatever, like, that's at least something. Endless Ocean Luminous, I can directly compare it to the Wii games, and I don't think it's as good at all, and I just think, like, it is a very miserable experience for me. I got a 2-for-1 Yoshi special right here. We got Yoshi Touch and Go and Yoshi Topsy Turvy, 2 Yoshi spin-off games pretty much released around the same time. Yoshi Touch and Go was a very early DS game, and Topsy Turvy was a later GBA game. Very interesting era for Yoshi. You know, I felt like they were really going hard with like the Yoshi's Island aesthetic, and like Yoshi was like his own big franchise. You had Yoshi's Island DS follow shortly after. I think this all kind of started because Yoshi's Island Super Mario Advance 3 on the Game Boy Advance kind of reignited that Yoshi's Island franchise. You know, it is kind of cool that they did you know, some spin-offs for Yoshi here. But you know, these are generally considered kind of crappier ones. Yoshi Touch and Go isn't bad. I think its problem comes from the fact that it was released for full price during the launch era of the DS, where, you know, people just wanted something to play. This is literally an iPhone game. This is like an early era iPhone game where you'd buy it for like $1. There's not a lot to it. There's not a lot of content at all. It is an arcade go for the high score type game. That's what it is. And for what it is, it does that fine. I think the problem is, like, it released during a weird era where they put it out for full price as a full retail game. If they waited a couple of years and they put this out on like the Nintendo DSi shop and it was a downloadable game for like $5, hell, even $10, you know, it would be fine. It would be whatever. I think a lot of people would be like, this is a cute game. And I think a lot of people still have good memories of this game. I think the problem with this game came down to the fact that it was a full retail game for like $30. But it's not a bad game. It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly sound. I wouldn't say it's necessarily that great, but I don't know, man. I think this game, I mean, for all of its problems, I think low A. You know, it's not a bad game. And like when it comes to the lack of content, hey, at the very least in this era, like that's something you could kind of get away with. And especially like with something as novel as the Nintendo DS, you know, like, you know, it was a passable thing back then. You know, like when you get to Mario Tennis Ultra Smash and Sports Superstars and Strikers Battle League, you know, like it's not as passable. You know, I say that when it's sitting right next to Mario Strikers Battle League, but Battle League has better gameplay than Yoshi Touch and Go, I'll say that. Yoshi Topsy Turvy, I don't have a ton of experience with, but I do know this game is pretty ugly. It looks kind of funny. And yeah, it is pretty much entirely based around tilting your system. But you know, this game was completely unnecessary. You know, it was not a great game that was kind of meant to like, oh, take advantage of the accelerometer in a Game Boy Advance cartridge. But it's like WarioWare Twisted was already there. And then in addition, you also had Kirby Tilt and Tumble all the way back on the Game Boy Color, where it's like, okay, like you already did this. So then you're just gonna do it again, but in kind of a shitty way. I don't think this game is offensive or anything, but I just don't think it was like necessary, and I think it just kind of like was just kind of like a dumb gimmicky game, you know? Like it worked. Like I think it at least belongs above Hey You Pikachu and this sort. I would say it belongs in B tier. I would probably play this right alongside a Donkey Kong Barrel Blast. So I'm probably going to put it right between Barrel Blast and Donkey Konga. Oh, Devil's Third. This game got some wacky-ass reviews. You know, they were kind of polarizing. You know, you had like some really low ones, and you had some pretty decent ones. And it was something to the point where like Nintendo of America was like kind of like figuring out like, do we even want to release this game over here, like, or even do like a physical release in general. So yeah, the physical release is kind of a little tricky to find. But I feel like I'm one of the very few people that actually beat this game. I went through the game entirely. I went through the full thing, and I don't think it's that bad. I think this is a very grimy ass game. There's a lot of things like playing through this game. I don't feel like a tip-top citizen. I think this game is a little gross sometimes, but again, you can kind of laugh at it for that. You know, it's kind of a game that you can kind of just point at and make fun of. When it comes to the actual gameplay, the gunplay is actually pretty decent. Like I think it's actually kind of like a pretty decent feeling action shooter. Now, of course, this game went through development hell, so you can kind of tell, like, graphically and just how the game runs, it's spotty. It's not a great experience a lot of the time, but I think overall, Devil's Third isn't that bad. I would actually put it below Metroid Other M. I would say, like, it's around there, where it's like, yeah, it's kind of a grimy video game, but the gameplay actually ain't that bad. It can be kind of fun to play, and you know, you can point and laugh at it with a lot of stuff. It is very over the top, and a lot of people actually really like the online multiplayer. I didn't get a chance to play the multiplayer with the game, but the single player campaign, it's dumb, but you know, it's not as bad as I think like a lot of people say. I would say it's more of like a 5 to a 6 out of 10 than like a 3. And while we're at it, you know, why don't we talk about another Wii U game? We're talking StarFox Zero here. StarFox Zero is a very infamous game at this point, something that a lot of people will be like, yeah, that's pretty much what killed Star Fox. I don't think so. I think, like, you know, either way, Star Fox wasn't going to do a damn thing with or without this game. So they were like, hey, we want to make a Star Fox game that uses the Wii U gamepad. I think Nintendo knows that was a big problem with this game. In addition to the fact that this game is yet another retelling of Star Fox 64, which in of itself was a retelling of the original Star Fox. I don't play Star Fox for the story, but the fact that this is just, we're going through the same shit over and over with this franchise. When it's fucking animals in space. You can do so much dumb, funny stuff with that. Just do something different. I don't care. Like, you have so much potential with Star Fox. I think that's what's really just annoying about the StarFox franchise. You can just sit down. If you sit some Nintendo employees down and you lock the door for like 3 hours, I guarantee you they'll come up with some weird, funny stuff to do with the StarFox franchise. But I just don't think they really care to do that. And StarFox Zero just kind of felt like they thought, oh, we want to do something with the Wii U gamepad. Oh, what about Star Fox? Okay. And that's pretty much the extent of like the ethos of the development of Star Fox Zero. I don't think the game looks particularly that great. It's just kind of a very bland feeling game. And I feel like they kind of like limited themselves by focusing so much on the 2 screens with this game that, you know, like pretty much the game has to render 2 gameplay screens at once. Unlike other Wii U games where like they either just double what's on the TV screen or they just show like kind of a basic map on the gamepad. Here in Star Fox Zero, they're showing you 2 unique game perspectives at once, so I'm sure that kind of cut down what they could do with the graphics, because this game just feels very bland. I wouldn't say it's ugly, it's just very bland. Like, it's something where when you see an explosion in this game, it's just, it doesn't leave much of an impact for me at all. Like, it feels very airy. It feels very just nothing. But that's graphically. You know, gameplay-wise, I understand the notion that, like, once you get used to the gamepad controls, they're fine. Okay, sure. I just don't care. The game is not interesting to me at all. If I'm gonna play a retelling of Star Fox 64, I might as well just fucking play Star Fox 64 with a normal-ass controller. I'm already not interested in this game, so why am I gonna commit myself to learning its dumbass control scheme that's never gonna be used ever again? How about this? I'll put it above Mario Party 3DS games. I know some people are like, it has merit, so I'm like, all right, sure. I don't think it belongs in C. And I think it has enough going on where it's like it's just a mediocre ass game. I wouldn't say it's like horrible or anything, but like, yeah. Might as well talk about the other Star Fox game we got here, StarFox Adventures. I have this here because like for a while this was kind of considered like the Antichrist. You know, just like, oh, this isn't a Star Fox game, blah, 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 all this stuff. Yeah, it isn't really a Star Fox game, but it's still a decent game. I think it definitely belongs in S tier. I think it belongs right alongside Zelda 2. I'd say it's probably like below Zelda 2, but I think this is definitely one of the best worst Nintendo games. You know, a worst Nintendo game that is kind of unfairly judged and is definitely not even a bad game or even a mediocre game. I think it's a good one. It looks really good for the GameCube too. And as Rareware's last like Nintendo game that they developed before you know, Microsoft purchased them, it's kind of a fun way to go out. Pokemon Dash. This was another early DS game. There's nothing to this one. It's a Pokemon racing game where you're using like the touchscreen to like control like the Pokemon running around top down. Yeah, I probably would put this at the top of C tier, right above Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. It has a lot of the same problems as Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. There's not a lot to it. But at the very least, like, it's an early DS game, so it has that going for it. Now, of course, like, why does Yoshi Touch and Go get higher? Because Yoshi Touch and Go is something that I could actually play nowadays and be like, that's kind of fun. It's kind of like a fun little arcadey game to just kind of play. Pokemon Dash, there's no reason to play that these days. There is no reason to play Pokemon Dash anymore. I think I actually have one more Pokemon game. It's Pokemon Rumble U. This is going in D tier. This is bad. This is one of my least favorite games of all time. This game literally has no like actual levels. Every stage takes place in a single small arena, and there's no strategy. You just go in there and you just beat up a bunch of enemies. I don't care. I'm putting this right above the DS browser. I don't even care if like there's an argument against that. I want to put it there. I know there's definitely like strategy with like the Pokemon types in that game, but again, I don't care. Who the hell is gonna go to bat for this game? Like, tell me, like please let me know who you are. Kirby Air Ride. This is an interesting one because this one got pretty middling reviews back in the day, but nowadays a lot of people like really love Kirby Air Ride. I'm somebody that loves elements of Kirby Air Ride, but I do see what the reviewers were saying back then. It's not bad at all. I think it has a lot of cool stuff in it. But the fact that it is such a very simplistic racing game, it does make it kind of boring. The main thing everybody says is like city trial mode. City trial mode. It's all about city trial mode. That's one mode in the game, man. I would say it belongs like an S tier, but like I think I'm putting it at the bottom of S tier. Like I like it. I like Kirby Air Ride, but you know, I definitely understand the complaints with the game from back in the day. Nowadays, everybody talks about how much they love Kirby Air Ride, all of this stuff. Yeah, you know, I understand that too. I also understand the other side of the coin. And I think I'm definitely kind of in the middle where it's just like, I like it, but it's also like, I didn't grow up with it. And I think that's a big element of Kirby Air Ride, honestly, is like, you grew up with the game. And it's like, oh yeah, I love Kirby Air Ride. If you try it these days, it's like, yeah, I like it. It's okay. Zelda Triforce Heroes. This is another one that people mostly like kind of like to clown on these days, or just be like, who cares about that one? This is kind of a weird one because, you know, it's another in the line of like a bunch of multiplayer Zelda titles. You know, Four Swords Adventures, then Triforce Heroes. Triforce Heroes is weird because like it's a 3-player game. You know, you don't see a ton of 3-player games. You don't do 4-player, you do 3-player. And it's because they did like this whole thing where it's like they really designed the game around like this totem mechanic where you guys are like on each other's shoulders. And they were like, well, with 4 players, it got a little too crazy, so we cut the 4th player. That's weird. I think the biggest weird thing with Triforce Heroes is that it doesn't really feel like much of like a full-blown adventure. It feels like you're doing just like a bunch of missions. And you know, that and playing it single player. Single player is god-awful in this game. Don't even try it. And the fact that it's a 3DS game, it both makes the multiplayer easier to do, but also harder to do. You know, it's weird how that works. It's great that you have your own screen, but you know, there's something about just a home console game that it's just easier to just, okay, you just give somebody another controller. You don't have to worry about somebody bringing their 3DS over, you know, especially these days now that, you know, the 3DS is obsolete. But for what it is, it's a multiplayer Zelda game, and like, it does that fine. I think it also belongs in S tier. I don't think it's like a horrible game or anything. I think it is a good game. I think you just need to know what you're getting into going into it. Steel Diver. This was a weird, dumb 3DS launch title. Steel Diver had like some weird origins, you know, like you start off with like E3 2004. It was a tech demo for the DS, and then they brought it back as a launch title for the 3DS. This is a unique game where it's like a 2D game where you have to control a submarine, and the submarine moves slow, and it has delayed reactions to what you tell it to do. So you have to maneuver it in a very specific way. Who cares? I'm putting it near the top of B. I'll put it like right below Mario 2. Steel Diver is like fine. It's fine. It's an interesting case in game design. It's something where it's like, okay, like that's kind of neat. You know, like you don't see many games like this at all. That's about the most you can really say about it. Oh boy, Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. Yeah, this one, when it was revealed, like it was like, wow, like you could hear a pin drop. It was like, damn, that's fucked up, especially because like they built it up almost to expect, like you would expect it to be a mainline Animal Crossing game, but no, it wasn't. It was a party game. It's not even a good-looking party game. It was very boring looking, and the fact that you had to use your amiibo to roll the dice was ridiculous. And then when it launched, it turned out to be even worse. Yeah, so an Animal Crossing party game is a sound concept. I think that definitely has some potential. And there's some certain modes, there's some certain games in Amiibo Festival that aren't bad. The Desert Island Escape one is a good one, and like a couple of the other ones based around the cards were good. And like if you want to get like kind of drunk with your friends and play the board game, I mean, like there's some funny stuff that can happen in there. But yeah, I would say party game wise, I would rather play Mario Party 10. And that's even considering like the good elements of Amiibo Festival. Like, yeah, I'm considering those. I'd still probably rather play Mario Party 10. It's a little easier to just set up Mario Party 10 and be like, we're gonna play this. So because of that, I'm putting Amiibo Festival below Mario Party 10. There's a couple here that I put that, like, I honestly just don't really have a ton of experience with. Wario Master of Disguise, I know is kind of a creepy ass game. I've played it before, but like, I don't have much to go off of with it right now. Isn't that bad? That's strange. There's also Quest for Camelot on the Game Boy Color, which was published by Nintendo. Got re-released on Nintendo Switch Online, which is some weird stuff. And then you got Odama. I always think Odama's funny. It's a tactical pinball game set in feudal Japan that you control with a microphone. You see, like, it just keeps going on. It's the never-ending sentence of a video game. But I only played Odama like a couple of times years ago. I don't know where to rank this. So, you know what? They're honorable mentions for this one. I just don't really know where to rank Odama. I'm sorry. I got two left that I really want to talk about here. We got Paper Mario Sticker Star. Paper Mario Sticker Star is often considered at this point like one of the worst games Nintendo's ever made. I actually like tried to play through the game. I got like probably like 5 to 10 hours in. I think I'm up to like the dumbass part where you gotta like find all the Wiggler pieces, and I'm like a bit into that part, but I haven't played the game in like a year, and I still need to finish it because I do want to talk about this game a little more at length. But yeah, this game is a very interesting situation where at the time of its release, like it was praised as like a pretty good game. Like I remember IGN gave it like around an 8 out of 10 or something. But you saw like people out there kind of like being a little more critical, being like, no, like it's weird, like it's really poorly designed. Like what is going on here? And also, you know, you have the diehard fans talking about how it's like there's no character to this game, there's no story. Like what's going on here? And over time, like, yeah, you know, like a lot of those complaints really started to become a lot more apparent. And it got to the point where I think it's obvious Nintendo heard those complaints, especially with the Thousand Year Door remake being kind of like them bringing Paper Mario back to, you know, more traditional form. And it's weird because Sticker Star was kind of initially seen as a return to form for Paper Mario. The fact that, you know, we're going away from Super Paper Mario's weird things and going back to more traditional RPG. But Paper Mario Sticker Star, is genuinely a pretty badly designed video game. It is not well designed at all. I think it's hard because like it's like you almost get whiplash with it, where it looks really good, it sounds great, and you know, elements of it are really fun. You know, like it is fun to collect the stickers. It is fun to peel the stickers off from the environment and get a bunch of them and just see your little sticker album on the bottom of your touchscreen kind of like, you know, get bigger and bigger. And, you know, like it has some fun little pieces of humor here and there. You know, like it's weird because like, again, like it feels like a wolf in sheep's clothing where like it has all these elements. It feels like a Mario game, you know, you have all these things about it. But then you get down to it and it's just like the battle system is so poorly designed. For some reason, they don't include XP. There's no reason to get into the battles. They're just wastes of time. It's a complete waste of time. The only thing you get from battling is coins. And the only thing you buy with your coins are stickers. And you waste your stickers in the battle. So then what are you doing? And on top of that, the way the game is designed is so obtuse a lot of the time. It is so just like not apparent where to go and what to do. It's a poorly designed game, and it's frustrating. It's annoying, and it doesn't even have like good enough writing that's funny enough and a story to keep you going. The environments are bland as hell. It's generic ass Mario. They look nice, but like it's generic ass Mario, and it's just, the game is a slog. It has no respect for you as a player. Oh, God. I would rather play this than Mario Sports Superstars, I will say. Like, this is one of the games where it's like, a lot of these other games are just kind of like whatever. Like, they're just a waste of time or money. Paper Mario Sticker Star is like one of the big ones here that's just a bad game. It's badly designed. It's not well thought out. So, I'm gonna put it above Mario Sports Superstars. That's where I'm putting it. And finally, we saved the piece de resistance for last. We got Chibi Robo Ziplash. Yeah, I don't like this game, but you know, we're gonna be a little fair here. At the end of the day, it's just a pretty generic kind of lame 2D platformer. I think that's the best way for me to describe it. It's just kind of it's a lame 2D platformer. It has some stupid design choices. The whole destination wheel is stupid. Design-wise, just doesn't make any sense to me. The fact that everything's made out of like these dumb blocks, but they have like these weird realistic sponsorship items in there. All the levels just slog on. They are so damn long and boring. And then at the very end, you need like a bunch of coins to beat the final boss. It's like the game is constantly trying to just like extend itself with its stupid destination wheel, which, you know, you can work around that. You know, like that is something, like you can get a workaround for that. Why does it exist in the first place? That's my main problem. But then in addition to that, like you just have like all these things that I just feel like the game is just trying to just like grab onto you for dear life and just telling you like, please don't stop playing me. And I'm gonna be honest, I think it goes at the bottom of B. I don't like this game, but I'm gonna be completely fair. Like it works fine. It's just lame. I think it's just really lame. The things below it, I think, are a waste of time. I think Chibi Robo Ziplash is a waste of time, but I also think, like, you can just kind of play it as just, like, a game to pass time. Like, that's the thing. Like, a game that feels like it's wasting your time and a game that I feel like you're kind of playing to pass time are two different things. And I feel like Chibi Robo Ziplash, I feel like it can be more of a game for you to pass time, so I don't know. Low B for me there. And that's my ranking of a lot of the games that are generally considered some of the worst games Nintendo's ever put out. Wow. I'm pretty okay with that. Of course, you know, like that's just how I'm feeling right now. And a lot of these games I haven't played in a while, so who knows, you know? I think it's crazy that I ranked Chibi Robo Ziplash in low B tier. But damn it, you know what? That's my character arc today. It's one shitty-ass character arc.